People today are very unpredictable in what they'll latch onto and endlessly glaze. With the release of Crimson Desert, I've noticed the same thing happening with it, where I'm entirely unsure why so many people got onto the hype wagon and kept pushing it uphill, despite the shoddy workmanship that clearly went into its design. You take a look at just how many people are on it, and how the wheels aren't even round, and it looks like it's held together with tape, and somehow it travels upwards, defying all logic. Now I do want to say that I was on board initially, myself having purchased it day one on Digital Foundry's glowing recommendation. I was looking forward to a game that wasn't built using Unreal Engine 5, by developers who seemed to care about performance and visual fidelity, both of which were glazed by DF's many videos pre-launch, as well as their tech previews and review on day one. I was really looking forward to a great-looking single-player RPG and really sink my teeth into it for the next month or two. However, my excitement quickly faded as the game's immediate awkwardness reared its ugly head not 5 minutes after starting the playthrough. I'm sure we all know what I'm alluding to. Talk to your comrades, the game tells you while showing you an X on the map. You use X on the controller to go up to and talk to a bunch of who cares NPCs, but then they put an invisible wall around Unka, and so I spent a good 30 seconds saying, I can't even go up to him. They put a wall around him. I can't get close enough to press X on him to talk to him. Only to finally see the LB icon in the bottom right. And then I had the expected reaction of, why is it different for him? That doesn't make any sense. And I was right. That really doesn't make any sense at all. And this captures, in its essence, all of the wonky stuff that I hate about this game. It's a perfect representation of the incoherent, ad hoc nature that drives this game's design. It is a collection of first drafts, not yet refined, a disparate collection of ideas that never form a cohesive whole. I have so many issues with this game that I don't even know where to begin. And so this too may be a similar collection of thoughts and ideas. To cast blinding light, you have to press and hold LB plus RB, then let go of LB, then press it again to focus light. You use the right stick to aim while having held RB down. You can point this light to A, light a fire, or B, activate a puzzle piece sometimes. Now, this is just one move out of, let's say, 20 or so that the game gives you, that all work in a similarly bizarre way. Every button on the controller is given different effects. For example, tapping the B button will let you roll, double tapping it lets you sidestep. Surely it would have made more sense to reverse that. Single tap for a short step, double tap for a long range roll. But no one really paid any attention to the details in this game. There's another example with X to jump, X twice to double jump, once you have the skill of course. But also, while in the air, you can press X to fly. And so, given this set of inputs, it's basically random what happens with my characters when I press X most of the time. It is the most unreliable thing I've had to work around in the game. The reason is because double tapping X doesn't make Cliff jump, but instead, he just jumps once, and so you have to figure out the exact timing for when X, then X turns into double jump, but If you wait too long, the second X would become fly. And so if you're trying to gain height by double jumping into force palm, you might end up doing a fly into a sideways force palm. Just to throw another variable into the mix, if Cliff is near or facing something that he can grab, like a wall, then double jump just won't happen at all. He'll just grab the cliff or grab the wall. And so you might just fly or force palm off the wall on instinct. Again, nobody really thought about how any of this would work together. They just threw everything together and hoped for the best. Now the combat can be fun, but given how much trouble there is with the control scheme, it takes a long time to find a flow with it. But even then, what always ends up happening is most people just hold down R2 with the occasional R3, your force palm or your stab ability to spice things up a bit. There are again so many skills that don't really serve a purpose other than getting a "oh my god, you can RKO people in this game" reaction. This is fine and good, and fun for about 10 minutes, but then you just hold down R2 for the rest of the playthrough because it's just more effective. And when you have to mow down hundreds of enemies, the same 4 bandits repeated over and over again, you don't want to do ineffective moves to kill 200 guys. The boss design in this game is pretty bad. This is not a Souls-like, and so the boss mechanics are very unclear. Lots of particle effects and light effects to blind you, lots of teleportation, and in particular, one mechanic that I still don't really understand. During some attacks, the boss will just randomly get a shield around him where none of your attacks do anything. And then you just have to guess and check if that part is over, if he has lost his shields, and then just dodge his attacks for a while, eat some food, and then guess and check if you can attack him again. These fights are generally not fun mechanically, because the attacks don't have much telegraphs or weight. They ignore basic stuff like hit stun and taking turns. No, every boss is just a blur of clashing, flashy moves where the fight is dictated by stats and revives and eating food, more than skill.
This is the price of the path you chose.
There's another Korean studio that made my favorite combat system in Kazan, and for me, that is just perfect. Your buttons are responsive, you can cancel a lot of moves into other moves, you have a lot of player skill expression through mechanics like reflection. And even when you lose to overtuned bosses, you think, "Ah man, I think I could have won that if I did this instead of that." In Crimson Desert, when you lose, it's more like, "Oh, I don't have enough stats." Then you upgrade a few things, come back, and wipe out the boss while having changed 0% of your approach or playstyle. Navigating the UI is harder than any puzzle that the game could throw at you. You've got menus within menus within menus, and on day one, I got really stumped by the ant memory helmet mechanic, where you're supposed to watch the first part of a memory, then put on the helmet. If you miss the prompt that they give you, then you have to specifically go into the radial menu to get to the helmet's inner menu, which then brings up another UI thing to find the specific memory by name, then view it back. And that might be the worst bit of UX UI design I've ever seen in anything. I have no idea how the glazers can even defend that one. And sure enough, they did patch that as one of the first changes they made, because thank God, but you can tell that that was good enough for release, so the level of care that existed prior to release. As for the puzzles, every time that you encounter a new one, it feels a bit like some new person from the design team is asking you this question. What number am I thinking of? And you have to answer using one of these. And it's accurate to 3 decimal places. Also, oftentimes they'll just give you the answer right there. It might be painted on the walls or in a room adjacent to the puzzle room. The solution is known, but you now have to figure out what number that guy was thinking of, whoever designed this. The glazers will often say that the game doesn't handhold you and that there is no yellow paint, and that's why the critics hate it and want it to fail. How is giving someone the solution to the puzzle in bright lights next to the puzzle anything but yellow paint? I just don't understand the troglodytes that think that they have somehow figured out some amazing puzzle with their insane IQ, and all the plebs complaining just can't figure it out and need babying. My god, the complaints are mostly about the mechanics. The solutions are often given to you by the game. We're just annoyed by the how rather than the what. Chapter 4, there's the Spire of the Stars puzzle. I say puzzle, but again, yellow paint all over. They give you this puzzle where you're looking at it, where there's a button on the wall that moves the symbols on the wall up. In the adjacent rooms, they tell you what each symbol should look like. There's your yellow paint. So you think, I just have to move these pieces into place and then the elevator will go up. Okay, makes sense. Pull out the claw, try to move the thing on the wall. Doesn't do anything. Then you think, okay, so this button made it go up. So maybe there's another button that moves it down. Or maybe if I pull the button out with my claw. Nope, none of that works. The solution is to hang off the tile that you're trying to move down. That is an insane thing to put in at this point in the game, where so far you've used your claw to move puzzle pieces. You've even rotated things on the wall using your claw, but for some reason in this puzzle, they expect you to hang off it to move it. What sense does that make? So this game is simultaneously the best and the worst looking game I've ever played. It looks so good at times, and then like complete trash the next. Chromatic aberration, pixelated shadows, flickering, Vaseline on the lens, and then overcompensating with sharpness to make everything look crunchy and blurry at the same time. Insane amounts of flickering. Hopefully this comes out in the video, but I urge you to try some of this stuff out that I'm showing you. The preview screen even shimmers when the game is paused. So no one seems to care about the story, including the so-called writers. It is so apparent because there is nothing even there. I could not connect to any of the characters. I don't care about any of them. I don't remember a single line they've said. Because it's all forgettable nonsense. The purpose of every piece of dialogue is to reroute you towards the next X on your map. You go to X, you don't question the how or the why, you just go to X, you let the cutscene play, follow some nobody on a horse, they stop randomly, and then you go to the next X anyway. You maybe fight some guys, you fight a boss, he escapes, then rinse and repeat. Now there was one particular part of the story that felt really absurd to me, and it had to do with the leader of the Blue Fangs, guy with the stripes across his face. He tells Cliff, "Can't talk here, walls have ears," or something to that effect. And then instead, we go for a horse ride where he shouts his plans to me as we ride through town. I actually could not believe what had just happened. I would not be surprised to find out if the ones to blame for this weren't writers at all, but they worked as prompt engineers at Pearl Abyss. Another example of horrible game design, there is an eavesdropping mechanic where you have to stand in the exact spot the designer thought of and then press LB on your controller. You can't just be within earshot and listen to it. No, that would be too easy. The same thing carries over to the other aspects of the game, such as the puzzles, where the player is never really given the freedom to twist and move puzzle pieces into place in whichever way they see fit. No, it's very rigid and will only work if you use the exact tool to do the exact action on said piece of the puzzle. I would say that the game had immense potential, and if only they had someone in their ranks that could seize control, grab all of those disparate ideas, reduce them down to a core selection, and then maybe it would have gone better. Old idioms like less is more come to mind, and they're really obvious as to why, because sometimes a simple home-cooked meal is more satisfying than 10 different bites of 5-star meals that have all been put together into a pot to then boil. You know what though? There's a Starbucks on every corner, right next to a McDonald's, and they both have free Wi-Fi so that the masses can purchase Slop 1 to be consumed alongside Slop 2, and they're happy. Why am I complaining? The fuck is my problem? Why am I such a hater?